But so why do we have to have all these complicated different kinds of networks? And it's because even though our current networks that are mostly focused, somewhat narrowly, you can get a lot of things done. You can get some really exciting work there. But what I've found is I've been like interviewing networks and talking to networks and networks that you need more outside perspectives. And you can get that in a network of networks. You need to do intense learning. I feel like part of the reason we're not making as much progress as we want is that we need to be doing much more deep learning to figure out what's working, what's not, what are the patterns of success. How can we get out of our dominance mindset and the way it blinds us and seeing what needs to be done? And we need to be sharing with each other what we're doing. So many groups are innovating incredibly beautifully, but they don't have any venues or places or platforms where they can share not what they're doing, but what they're learning, what breakthroughs they're making, what innovations they're making, and sharing that with others. And people need support with challenges. I've come across so many groups and they say, oh, we had this problem. I said, oh, have you talked to so and so? They've already dealt with that challenge. Let me connect you with them because they'll be able to tell you what they did. And I bet you can learn something from them. And if we ever want to do really large scale kinds of things, we have to be connected, more connected. Now, and we also need to develop what I call the support ecosystem. We have to figure out communications. We have to figure out how to support all the network weavers we're going to need. And it's best to work on that with other networks. Most single networks don't have the capacity to figure all that out. So there's lots of reasons. Now, the key, of course, is how do we do this without being overwhelmed? And, that's part of what we're going to have to learn together. So a couple things though. Networks and networks generally differ from networks because networks and networks tend to not just say, this is our strategy, we're going to do it. A lot of networks have a strategy or a little set of strategies they're doing. But networks and networks are often like, oh, we want to bring together all these networks with different strategies so they can learn from each other, be provoked by each other, and really, help see where each is working in that big, giant network map. And I just want to get the idea that it's not like there's a recipe for a network of networks. So in the US, there's this food policy network of networks, and it has a lovely vision. It's trying to create a more just food system. Next slide. And there are 300 and some local and state and regional policy networks. So it's a multiscalar network. It has, local, state, regional, and national. Next slide. And it does a bunch of things. But the main thing it does is it's a learning network and sort of a practice network. And so people want to learn something like I did one for 6 months or something on network weaving and how can you build healthier networks in your local communities. But they have all sorts of different ones about different strategies and different policies that people have done in one community and then they're sharing it with others. But it's quite structured. It has a staff of a couple people and they do most of the coordination. So next slide. But every 18 months they do like what have we been able to accomplish as a whole network, and it's really quite astounding all the different policies on many different levels that have been passed. So example of a somewhat structured. And then next slide. Then the next one